Hey everyone, I'm Gleb Akhmetov, and with me is a special guest. Usually we don't have webinars like this, but it's something unusual. So Yevgen Laichenkov, did I pronounce it correctly?
Yeah, that's fine.
Excellent. Well, thank you for joining me, Yevgen. You wrote something very interesting, and before we get to the quiz part, why don't you introduce yourself? What do you do? Do you do automation? Are you engineer? Go ahead.
Sure. Thank you, Gleb, for inviting me, and thank you for the opportunity to present my work that I did. And yeah, I'm Yevhen. I'm originally from Ukraine, but I'm living in the United States in Charlotte, North Carolina.
Mhm.
And yeah, I'm working as a software test engineer. So I'm mostly building the tools for testing, but also still have some time for the development of test cases and improving some metrics reporting part. So I'm a big fan of such things. And yeah, recently I designed it and developed the Cypress quiz that we are going to go through it. So yeah, so
We
excited
will.
about that.
We definitely will get to that. That's the main part. But I want to congratulate you on your fashion sense. That's a great t-shirt. I have
Thank you.
one of those. So it's a Cypress IO. I think this is the old one, right?
Yeah,
Original.
and the former colleague mine from
Yeah.
Ukraine, Sergey Soborov, if you are watching it, hi. Thank you for the t-shirt he gifted it me. And probably he won it in Amsterdam
Uh-huh.
when you, so probably I believe that you even gifted it to him or he won it by some quizzes on the conference. Like it was like 6 years or maybe,
Yeah.
maybe more. I don't actually recall. But yeah.
Sounds about right. I used to bring them to every workshop, every conference, just give them away. I know Cypress, the company, was giving them after webinars, right? If you watch a
Mhm.
webinar, there's a little form and you could get a t-shirt. So pretty comfortable t-shirt. I still have it. It's kind of shrunk after years, but I still wear it from time to
Cool.
time. Okay, why don't I try sharing my screen? Because I want to bring everyone's attention to the cypressquiz.com. So this is a website you created, right?
Yeah.
Excellent, excellent. Now, can I ask why?
Well, yeah, mostly because I'm a big fan of quizzes and the tools like Cypress, Playwright,
Yeah,
WebDriver. So I really love such thing, like when you have some tricky question and you
yeah,
need to figure out the answer. And there is like probably almost or most of them are tricky questions. So
yeah,
there is like trick, and you need to know or you need to be really focused on the question and maybe read twice the
yeah.
question and the code and then answer. Because yeah, well, yeah, as I'm a big fan, I just wanted to share with everyone. Yeah, that's pretty much
Okay,
it.
I think it's an awesome idea and I love the quiz. I went through it once, right? I got so many things wrong, to be honest, right? Because I did not look at it carefully. So why don't we go through there are 15 questions, right? So this is the first
Uh,
one and 14 remaining, and they are randomized, right? So order is random.
Not really. No, the
Not
order
really.
is the same. So
It's the
yeah,
same?
and there are 14 questions. Yeah, it's like
Okay.
starting from the yeah. So this is the first one. Yeah, probably 14, maybe 15. I don't actually remember, but yeah, let's give it a try. But the same. So
Yeah.
I didn't change them. So
Hmm.
if you refresh the browser, you have the same
Yeah.
questions each time. So it doesn't
I,
matter.
I I
It
I
just
see it now. Yeah. No
yeah.
worries. That's fine, right?
Yeah, it's basic HTML and CSS, and that's it.
Yeah.
Nothing special. I didn't create anything special. Just maybe the questions are special. Yeah, so yeah.
So the questions are pretty short, right? Like usually they're like,
Hmm.
what will happen in the following test or tests? And for example, there are two tests wrapping foo in both. And then the only difference is one uses a should callback, another uses set then callback. And inside the callback, you just log whatever the subject you get as an
Hmm.
argument. And all the questions are multiple choice. So A, B, C, and D. Uh, A, both tests will print foo, right? And on my first kind of look, yeah, they both should print foo because we wrapped foo, we're passing it to the callback, and we're just
Hmm.
logging it. But then you kind of say, well, both tests will fail. And I was like, that doesn't sound right, right? So probably not B. First test will print foo, second one will fail. First test will fail, second one will print foo. So I see a pattern, right? You kind of
Hmm.
give permutations of what possibly could happen, right? The first one fails, second one, or both succeed, or both fail. Okay, so anyone who's just started with Cypress probably will get it wrong, right?
Yeah,
Well, how did
definitely.
you come up with this question, right? Like this is
Honestly, I found out that many people still don't know the difference between should and then, and because I was working on many Cypress projects and I'm still working, and I think that people don't understand it. Sometimes they think that they are the same, so they can use it like alias, but again, they are not. They're like significant difference, and also, I have probably 2 or 3 questions about the should and then difference. So we'll find in the next question. But here it was like simple one. If you have never used the Cypress, probably you don't know the difference because it's okay. And if you just look at documentation, you will find out that it's like simple warning in Cypress documentation that you cannot use Cypress command such as SYLog, and inside the should callback. So that's pretty much it, is the rule. And there is no such rule for then. So the first one, will fail, unfortunately. But the second one will pass because it's okay. But should and then they are not equal, and I really wanted to highlight it. And even because of both this comment, I decided to write the article that I published it like 2 months ago, probably like 10 mistakes. And there is like, again, should and then, they're not the same, do not use it. So that's...
We definitely will link the article in the description of this video. I will link the cypressquiz.com in the description of the video. And yes, you cannot use any Cypress commands or really write any asynchronous code, right? Inside the should. It should be very simple synchronous callback that usually just evaluates whatever you pass and checks it and maybe throws an error. So what I like about your site, right, is that if you don't know the answer or you get it incorrect, you can click, let's say, I'm going to be wrong, right? It shows the right answer, and I can ask it to explain. And you can see at the bottom, but the first test will fail because you cannot invoke Cypress command inside should callback, but everything is fine inside that. Okay, perfect. Love it. Let's go to the next question. Okay, what will happen during this following test? First, we visit cypress.io, and then we visit cypress.quiz, and then we try to check that there is a quiz, which is probably right here.
That's it. So someone might think that Cypress will overwrite, your previous visit. So if you visit cypress.io, then you visit another site, that Cypress will overwrite and will work just fine. But that's not the case. Again, it's like the basic concept of Cypress that you cannot work with 2 different super domains in one test without using origin command, which is really useful for such scenarios. But so you might think that, oh, the test should pause because, visit, nothing special. The test should never fail because I don't see any issues, because the site that we are visiting actually the site has, and you can open DevTools and check that the header and H1 tag actually includes this text like quiz. So everything should fine. So I think that it's Cypress quiz. So it should pass.
Okay, but I'll go one step beyond, right? So just from working with quiz, I created a small Cypress project, right, where we can just copy paste every test and we can see it in action. Okay.
Sure.
So I'm gonna open Cypress, and this is Cypress latest version, like 13.11. And I'm gonna use Electron. You can see, right?
I can see.
So notice it visits cypress.io, reloads because it sees a new origin domain, and then it actually goes to cypress.quiz, but notice how it times out, and I'm gonna zoom this a little bit, and it explains the problem. It even tells you if you want to check something on a second domain, you should use origin, give that domain, and then run the command. So we probably should be able to do something like this, right? To
Yeah.
fix it.
Yeah, definitely it will work.
Okay, and now
Yeah.
it works. So
Yeah.
I know it's a huge limitation, right? It's a
Yeah.
trade-off. Do you want to be able to access everything natively, directly on the first domain, or do you want to travel across domains, right? And majority of times we test first domain because it's our application, and maybe sometimes we have to go to third-party domains. So Cypress makes this trade-off where you have to use special command, and I think it's a fair trade-off. I don't think it's too bad. Okay, so test will
Yeah.
fail. I think explanation is
Yeah.
the same. Perfect.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, this one is nice, right? So
Yeah.
do you use scieats command a lot?
Yeah. Honestly, I'm doing because I've been working on API tests with Cypress, and usually I'm accessing some object by
Yeah.
its command. So yeah, it's widely used for me, especially.
Yeah. So in this case, we have subject and array, right?
Yeah.
And trying to access something inside an array, it probably looks at it as trying to access a property of an object. Now, if Cypress doesn't have that property on the subject, it tries to retry that, right?
Yeah.
So I'm not sure if it gets to the equality. So this is one of those cases that I don't remember what happens if a property doesn't exist on an array specifically. You would think that it would get the last element, right? Like -1 from the
Yeah.
end.
Yeah. Why not?
Let's see. Let's see. So this is why, like, trying it out yourself. Okay. So it doesn't complain about -1,
Yeah,
but
that's
it
fine.
returns undefined. Okay.
Yeah. The same
Again,
way as JavaScript works, actually.
yeah, yeah. So if we take the same thing
Yeah,
and
you
we
can try.
say 1, 2, 3, and then we say -1, right?
Yeah.
JavaScript just
No
allows you.
errors.
No
Yeah, no
errors.
errors. Everything is
Ooh, it's a
okay.
great language. It's a great language. I love it. Every time I love it. But okay, so expected undefined to equal TS. Okay, again, should, another variation of
Yeah,
a should callback.
yeah, should, and then there are not really simple commands and mostly used, I believe, because everyone writes assertions, you need to verify, and
Yeah,
sometimes you need to get the value from the previous
yes,
I don't know, command. So you should use then for this case, but you should never probably use then for the expectation and assertion, because on my previous project I had huge code base and all test cases actually used that then, and I was like,
like
whoa,
this.
why do
Yeah,
we use it? Yeah, why do we use it? Why? And someone told me, oh, it's like an alias. You don't know about the difference. And I'm like, oh, sorry, but I know it. So let me show you. And I just demonstrated the difference with the
yeah,
multiple assertions, which is a crucial part, actually, if you want to multiple assertion. So you will notice the difference, and you definitely should just shoot
yeah,
for multiple assertions. But here is a trick about the should command itself. So so the code looks okay if we just treat
yeah.
like we use wrap, like simple string, then should,
It should
assertion should
pass,
pass.
right? Yeah,
Yeah, because no errors. And actually, JavaScript allows us to return the value from the even chainable
yeah,
comment. So it's okay. We should do that. So we should, I don't know, return some value and then
yeah,
interact with it in the next command, like chainable command, like
right.
then. But yeah, unfortunately, again, should is not designed for such situation. It's for assertion. So if you want to verify something, then use should. If you want to verify multiple, I don't know, items, then use should, because it includes retries mechanism, and you can
Yeah,
do it like, yeah, you will see the benefits of it. Yeah, and also there is like a strict rule that you cannot return value from should
yeah,
callback. Yeah, and it will use the previous value from the command, from the previous
right.
command, which is foo, foo. Yeah, so in our case, and the assert as the expectation will fail because again the value is not
right?
That's it.
Absolutely. This is a Cypress rule, right? That
Mm-hmm.
any value returned from a should callback is just silently ignored. It doesn't change the current subject. In Cypress, all the should assertions that you can insert, 99% of them don't change the current subject. Only very
Mm-hmm.
few, like should have property and then the name of property, those things will change it to a value, but it's very rare.
Mm-hmm.
Everything else just keeps the current subject. So this will be ignored. So the string foo will be passed to the side then callback and it will fail. So first
Mm-hmm.
assertion will pass, second will fail, second will fail.
Yeah.
Yeah. So here it's actually very nice because you have three different predicates, right? You have to
Yeah.
keep keep paying attention to the very,
Yeah.
very
Yeah.
end.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
really quickly, right? You said you should not
Yeah.
write it
Let's
like
check.
this, right? So yeah, boo, I
Yeah.
mean foo to equal boo. But you said
Yeah.
that you would rewrite this a little bit, right? So for example, right here, you don't want to call back, right? You probably want to say should equal and then foo,
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And this is
Yeah.
then clear that you're not changing the subject. And the same thing here, right? Like there is no point in adding then callback just for the purpose of explicit assertions. You can
Yeah.
say
Definitely.
and be something like this, right? So just chain multiple assertions to the same subject, check all its properties, whatever you want. Nice, easy, pure, less code, very easy to
Yeah.
read. That's a great question. I love it
Yeah.
in a quiz.
Less code, less problems. So it's like
Exactly,
equal, you know?
exactly. Now, this question, when I read it, okay. So sccontains method case sensitive. Do you like yourself
Yeah.
sccontains command? Because it's one of my
Uh,
favorite.
yeah. I prefer use it like with chain with get and then contain. So yeah, but I
Okay,
use it very often.
okay. So right now it says, is it case sensitive? And I know it is case sensitive, right? Like I
Mm-hmm.
know it's documentation. If you want to look it up, you could just do contains, right? And see if it's case sensitive or not. It is.
Yeah.
So I'll say true. But if you read the question,
Yeah.
right? The question actually confuses you because psi contains lowercase is equal to capital, and you say no, this is false, right? So you would pick false in this case. So just
Yes.
yeah,
Yeah,
just
that's why I
read the question.
included this question because
Yeah,
it's quite easy, you know, like I think everyone who started working with Cypress, they know that it's not the same like
yeah,
capitalized or not capitalized, like capital case, lowercase.
yeah,
So they probably would not struggle with such a question. So I just decided to add some, I don't know, tricky part, like
yeah,
the code itself. It will be,
yeah.
I know it's misleading. Yeah, so it's like, yeah. So
So
yeah,
if you want to do match case false, and I also seen a lot of people kind of if they have a string, just construct a regular expression
yeah,
right away and say ignore case. Now, the good thing
yeah.
about this one, you can just say it should begin and end. So you know it's
Yeah,
precisely because by default, sci contains just part of a text. It doesn't have to be the
yeah,
entire text. So I really like something like this. I think this is like can have this, not case sensitive, but it has to be just these letters. Okay, we're doing great. We only have two incorrect. What will
yeah.
happen after passing a negative number to the sci-go method? So navigating from page to page. And
Hmm.
I think many people will kind of guess, right?
Yeah. But
So
honestly, I've never used this command. So I just, for me, it was like, oh, okay, what I can
yeah,
think like, yeah, basically understandable that it will go back. I believe that Selenium works the same way or work the same way, like you can go to the previous page, but I'm not sure. But
let's
but yeah,
see.
for
There is
me
no
this
sideback.
command,
Yeah, yeah,
yeah, I don't actually use this command, so I just thought that it's a good idea to add it because maybe
yeah.
some never use it as I am. So yeah,
Cypress has pretty big API, so there are a lot of
yeah,
commands that you don't have to use all of them, right? So there are queries, and there are actions like go back and other commands. So there is huge number of commands. And it's nice to kind of get questions about a command you don't usually use. I use it like once or twice in per hundreds of tests, so it's rare. Okay, so this was tricky, right?
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
so you're adding a none to a Cypress env object, and Cypress env usually is just a plain object, and you access it by setting it, or if you just provide the name of a property, then you are getting it. So in this case, we're getting it back. It returns probably a none. And then we're asking what's the type of. So it's a JavaScript question. And okay, so anytime there are JavaScript questions, I cheat, right? I like type of none. So it's a number. So type of will return a string, right? So it will log a number correctly. But in your explanation, you did notice that if it were something like a number, a Boolean, Cypress env does cast things, right?
Yeah, because some people might think that the Cypress env command would work the same way, like the system variables that they always the string. So someone might think, oh, I know a lot. I know about environment variables. So if you overthink in such a way, then you will fail, unfortunately.
Right.
But
So
yeah,
if you do something like this, right, Cypress will automatically convert and set age in your Cypress env to number 42. So if you do some env age, then it actually will be number, not a string. Even though, like, so Cypress will try to convert things into actual, but only for Boolean numbers, I believe. Okay, so be careful.
That's cool.
Yeah, I think it's pretty helpful. Like,
yeah, it is.
okay, now this one tripped me up, right? So we are wrapping an array. I mean, but array only has a function.
Yeah, only one.
And we use a invoke, which one of my favorite commands again. Invoke takes the first argument, that's a method name, because it's an array with just a function. The index 0 would be the function itself, and then 4 will be the argument to the n. And so we're only calling it once, and then we print what our empty array has. And you have a couple of choices, and I was like, well, B obviously is the right one, but it's not, right? How did you come up with this question?
I didn't know about the behavior on the invoke and some hidden parts of the command. I just found out it in the documentation. Again, I read the documentation, and before starting working on the tools or project, I usually go to the official documentation and do it. So Cypress has the beautiful documentation. You can find many useful things. And there isn't documentation like something like this example, and that it said that you cannot actually, you can, but you shouldn't chain the invoke command with other one. Like I did in the example, you see that invoke, and then we are using then, and we're just printing the spec, or in our case, just array. So and there is a warning about such things that you should not use because it might behave differently, and you will never know the result of the execution.
You have to be careful, right? Because notice it's a query, it will retry, all right? So it might actually be executed multiple times. We always assume that if we're calling a method, then the method might affect, it's not a pure function, right? But often we are dealing with DOM elements, and what we're invoking is like trying to get an attribute, right? Or trying to set something like hide or show, right? Which we can actually call multiple times because we want to do that. And if we call it again, it doesn't change anything. But in this case, I just want to prove that this will do the unexpected thing. So we're gonna put it right here. And let's run it again with a clean console. Notice it actually calls it twice, which is And I've rewritten this a couple of times just to make sure that this is not an artifact of like having a local variable. So we can, for example, like wrap stack right here and invoke push directly, right? So instead of creating intermediate function, and then we can print, and it does the same thing.
Yeah,
Okay,
the
so
same.
just be careful. Don't add actions like this, right? Oof, that's a good question. I did not expect
Thank
it.
you.
So we know the right answer. We see the
Yeah, and there is
explanation.
explanation. Yeah.
Okay, so what will happen if there are multiple li elements, right? So scigget li will get us multiple elements, probably to do MVC, should be visible. And I know this because I actually made a video about it, because I was checking it myself, and there are, okay, 4 answers. It will pass if the first element is visible, out of whatever many. Will pass if at least one element is visible. Will pass if all elements are visible, or assertion error. Okay, so assertion error, I'll just ignore.
Yeah.
So for visibility of the first element, any element, or all elements. Why did you ask this question? Because it's a nice question.
Yeah, again, I saw in the documentation the information about the behavior with multiple elements, and I just found that it's really interesting one, because I believe that many people don't know the behavior of this, and they should know, because it's like crucial part, because the web page and application always, sometimes, not always, sometimes have bugs, and there might be some elements that you don't know how your test will behave in this way. So it's a good one, I think.
So the right answer is this, right?
Yes, yeah.
You can have multiple elements, some could be hidden, but if at least one is visible, then it will pass. And all I want to do is suggest, if you have questions like this, right, like little things, if you search my examples, multiple elements visible, visibility of multiple elements. All right, so notice the second li has display none. The test passes even if some elements are invisible, right? So kind of like all the permutations. If you want to check if all are visible, I want to start with, then you have to probably use .each, iterate over each one, and just ask about one specific element. Oh, I thought that now it's the reverse, but will be a related question later.
Yeah.
Okay, so we now
the hidden element, right?
Yes, yeah. So here's what we have. This is an excellent question. Before each, we wrap some text and we give it an alias text. And then we have 2 normal looking tests, right? Where we access the alias using a property of this object, which we can do, right? But notice the only difference here, we use a fat arrow function, and here we actually use function keyword. So I know the answer, but why did you come up with this question?
Yeah, this question is mostly, I believe, about the JavaScript itself. So you need to know the difference between the arrow functions and the simple regular functions, like this in the second one test. Yeah, and yeah, so I just decided to add it because it might be funny, because people need to know about the difference. So I just wanted to add. But I believe that many people who is working for a long time, they know the difference, and this is not a problem for them to understand.
Yes.
Yeah.
So notice the second test passed right away. Here it says this is undefined. You have to use function, because by default fat arrow sets this to the whatever lexical scope is, and here is nothing. So if you want to access, Cypress test context, you have to use the function, and then everything is fine. It's a great question.
Yeah, or get commands you can use with arrow function as well to accept the save alias.
Yeah, just don't be lazy. Use site.get text, then text, right? And or like should equal whatever you want to do.
Yeah.
Okay. So now the reverse of visibility. What will
Yeah.
happen if there are multiple li hidden elements where we say, get me all li with class hidden should not be visible. Now, this is kind of reverse of should be visible. Again, if first element is not visible, some elements are not visible, all elements are not visible, or an error. So really, it's a choice between the first three. I honestly guessed at least one should not be visible, but this assertion actually very strict. All elements have to be invisible for
Yeah.
it to pass. Yeah. Oof, you stay vigilant, kids. Pay attention. This is again one of the questions where you want to try it out on a smaller example just to know how it works, and then kind of remember forever, I guess.
Yeah.
Related question to its -1. Now we are saying, okay, if you get all li elements and then use psi eq, right? Kind of matches jQuery.
Yeah.
And you say -1. Negative numbers cannot be used, or yields an element from the beginning, or yields an element from the end. Again, -1 seems to be the one from the end, so I did guess the end.
Yeah.
Let's see if documentation says. Notice
Yeah,
no
it
-1.
should be there.
A negative number indicating the index position from the end.
Yeah.
Okay, so I think this is what jQuery does as well.
Yeah, but JavaScript behaves differently,
Yeah.
as you remember. Yeah, so if you provide negative index, then you will get undefined.
In JavaScript, if you have something like this and you say -1, like we said, it's undefined, but there is a new method, right, add, that you should use in JavaScript arrays if you want to get elements starting from the end. Okay, we are at the finishing line, only 2 questions remaining, right? We're doing great, mostly correct, right? I mean, it helps that I'm with you. Okay, now this is one of my favorite questions, right? So we have before each, we have before hook, we have after hook, and after each, and just a single test. So what's the order of execution? And I know because I actually got burned by it a couple of times already. I know for sure that before runs first, right? So Mocha arranges
doesn't
everything.
matter. Yeah,
Doesn't matter if it's
where you place it. Yeah.
Yeah. So because you probably want to run it before all hooks and before the test. So it makes no sense to execute something multiple times and just execute this inside of it. So 2 will be first, and then 1. So it's only C or D. And again, after, no matter if you've written it before, after each, after will run and will last the position. So only C seems to be the right choice. And again, the test, runs between the hooks.
Yeah.
Okay, now we have to think a little bit. So we wrapping a value in before hook, right? And then there are 2 tests. And the tests are absolutely identical. So you're not trying to use this dot value. You get the value using say get. So that's nice. Like it's exactly the same code. So the only
no tricks.
No tricks. The only trick is you use something that Cypress actually recommends you not using, right?
Yeah.
You use before hook. Can I ask why did you ask this question? Was it something that you experienced?
Yeah, honestly, I had a problem with it and I didn't know. So it was like, I don't know, 2 or 3 years ago, I had it with the issue, similar the issue. And so the test, we had only the one get alias something. And then we added additional test and we didn't change before hook. So it was like it before. And then we added additional test and it didn't work. So I was like, well, why? And I started diving deeper in this area, and I just find out that this kind of interesting one. So you need to know that aliases and other things. So Cypress try to make test isolated, and they are resetting values such as alias and other things. So it will create a new alias for each test, like So yeah, if you are using before, it will run only once. But for Cypress, it's crucial to use before each instead of before for such cases.
Cypress really tries to isolate your tests so they work in isolation and nothing remaining from previous tests affects your current test. So whatever you set, it only ran before hook once, which means the first test had it. The second test starts from clean slate, where before all hook doesn't run, so you have no alias, like Cypress says. I always suggest probably you really meant to use before each, right? And use the value in every test. Notice before each set the alias. Okay, so first test will pass, second one will fail.
Yeah.
Excellent. Okay, well, together, right? So we have to divide 71 by 2, right? You get 35%, I get 35%. But this is an excellent test of your Cypress knowledge. I really loved it.
Thank you.
Yevhen, any last words, any projects you're working, anything you want to share, where people should follow you? What are you working on? Feel free to share right now.
Yeah, thank you. So thank you for your time and for the great session. It was really fun. So follow me on Twitter, LinkedIn, whenever you find me. GitHub, I'm building many tools, open source things that you might use, and they might be useful for you and your work. So yeah, and also I'm working on the blog post about the something like can ChatGPT solve Cypress quiz. So yeah, I will publish it soon, so stay tuned. And yeah, it will be nice to read for everyone, I think. That, yeah.
Yevhen, it was pleasure talking to you. I will link your profile, your website, all the links that you give me in the description of this video, right? Really appreciate your time, really fun project, and I really learned some new tricks, right? And fill the gaps in my Cypress knowledge. Thank you so much.
Cool. Thank you.
Take care. Bye.
You too. Bye.